Well, hi. A little late, sorry. What this is our repeat of the meeting that we had last Monday. And unfortunately, and I have to apologize for this, the meeting notice didn't go out till pretty late. So only a handful of folks showed up last Monday when we had our annual referees and umpires meeting. We had quite a full agenda of things to talk about. And there are some big changes this year and some not so big changes. So basically, we talked about quite a few different things. So what I want to do in this video is talk to you a little bit about what we talked about last week, in case you missed it. And you can go back to this video at any time and watch it if you want to. So let me kind of start off from the top of the agenda. So the things that we talked about last week basically are four main items. We talked about HUDL. We talked about the new rules interpreter website. We talked about communication devices, and we talked about rules changes. So I'll just go down the list in that same order. First off, I'll start with HUDL. So you should be getting in your email at the email that we have on file for you guys that you use for Arbiter. You should be getting an invitation to join HUDL within the next 4 to 6 weeks, I would say. When you get this invitation, just follow the directions, log into HUDL, set yourself a password. And once you're in, what you're going to be able to see are the videos that we're going to be using for training. So we sent out a request to all of the coaches in Section 3 for them to share a video with us from 2018, and we had a really good response. So not everybody responded, but we have something over, I think, 15 hours of video. And what we're doing right now is we're going through those videos and we're scripting them. So we're finding teachable moments in each of these videos, or where we can find teachable moments. And then we're going in and we're annotating those clips, and then we're going to use those as training films. So in the past, what we've done is we've used training film from the National Federation, from that Aloha group in Hawaii. But now what we'll be able to do this year is we're going to use film that's us officiating on the field. So I think it'll be kind of neat. So far, what I've seen is the video ranges, from okay to pretty good. So the couple games that we have at the Dome, obviously they have very good equipment there. So those and the lighting's very good. That's probably the biggest thing. So those videos look really good. So where we can find plays that we can annotate and go through, we're using a lot of those. Some schools have not so good equipment and not so good lighting, and the games are at night. So those films are a little less useful to us, but we have found some things that are teachable. So when you go on to HUDL, what you're going to see in the menu is you're going to be a list of clips, and they're each going to be named. And we're going to use those clips during our training in the classroom. But you can also go to them and look at them at any time. Everyone in the chapter will have a HUDL account, and you'll be able to look through those. And there's other kind of neat things on HUDL, so be sure and go in and take a look at it. Not associated with us, but just kind of neat stuff in there that you can take a look at and play around with. You'll also notice that the clips are labeled. So there might be a label called good no call, or sideline mechanics, or missed call, things like that. And one of the things I think we all need to understand, you need to have a little bit of a thick skin to do this. I mean, most of us that have done this have developed kind of thick skin to be able to be an official. So if you see yourself up there on the film and you happen to be in a teachable moment, whether it's a good job or something we can improve, you got to right off the bat understand that you got to just, you can't take it personally. You just are helping everyone to do something a little bit better. So obviously we're not going to be brutal on anybody. Some of the film is not even good enough to be able to recognize who the official is that we're covering, because when schools film their teams, they're not filming us, right? So 90% of the time, the only officials you're going to see in there are the wing officials, because they're interested. The film is interested on the line of scrimmage pretty much. But there are some schools like CBA that have a nice wide angle camera in the end zone, and where we can use those videos, we see a little bit more of the referee and back judge interface. So again, I think this will be a really good tool for us this year. It's going to take us the whole summer to go through all the video that we have and pick out the things we want to use to train. Unfortunately, it's all the video. It's not going to be a kind of thing where anyone can go in and just look at their game from last week. It doesn't work that way. But definitely, you will be able to see things. And from time to time, we may share an entire game just for you to be able to take a look at and analyze. The coaches know now that with HUDL, if they have a question about a play, they can just send the play to us and mark it. Please look at this. And then we'll go through it. Again, we'll annotate it. We'll talk about it. We'll send it back to the coach. It'll make that interface a lot easier between the coach, especially where there's questions on a call or on an enforcement or something like that. So that's HUDL. Like I said, in the next 4 to 6 weeks, be sure and take a look at your email, and then you should be able to see an invite. After the invites have been sent out, I'll have Nick send out an email just to make sure everyone got the email. And if you haven't, then just give me a buzz and we'll figure it out. Second thing I wanted to talk about, or that we talked about last week, is the Rules Interpreter website. So created a new website that's actually going to be a sub-website of our current chapter website. It's not going to replace it. You can go to it now, and the address is rules, R-U-L-E-S, .lexorandi, LEXORANDI.com. rules.lexorandi.com. Roddy's going to create a link from our website right now, so you'll be able to just hit a link and get to it. But until that link's in there, you can go to it just intrinsically. You just go right to it. If you go to it, what you're going to see is something that says Rules Interpreter web page. There's going to be a bunch of tabs, and each tab has information under it. So there's a meetings tab, a discussions tab, evaluations, film, articles, and then there's tabs that talk about HUDL and electronic communications, modified football, and 8-man mechanics. Those are just some of the tabs you'll see, and when you click on those tabs, it'll list a bunch of content that we'll put in there. So for instance, when you go to the meetings tab, it'll show you a list of all the meetings this year, but each meeting date will be a hot link. So if you click on it, it'll take you to the content that we presented that meeting. So if you miss a meeting for whatever reason, and you want to go take a look at the content, you should be able to, after the meeting's done, you should be able to go in and click on that. And if I've given you any presentations, I've handed anything out, if there's any film that we've looked at, you should be able to see it in there and catch yourself up in the case that you missed me. There's also links for articles and discussions. So if you click on the articles, you're going to see a bunch of articles. And what I've been doing is I've been posting articles already that have to do with football officiating. So if I see an article that I think is something that everyone would be interested in reading, I'll put it up on the site. And when you go into articles, you can see it. Some of them, they're not all football officials. They're all officiating articles. Most of them are football, but some of them have to do with game management, which I felt had sort of a universal application across all sports. So that's what you'd find in articles. Evaluations, the e-board's still talking about that, so we may post some redacted evaluations on there so that you could see kind of what observers are seeing these days. And there's a tab on electronic communications, and that's a topic I'm going to cover in a sec. And then modified football, so you'll see modified football rules and 8-man mechanics. You'll see the differences in 8-man mechanics. So hopefully this will be just another training tool that will help everyone, help me to communicate with you. I'm not going to hand out copies of articles. I'm not going to email you copies of articles. Basically, I'm going to put it on the Rules Interpreter webpage. I'm going to tell you all that's there. Go out and take a look at it. If you want to print it out, knock yourself out, that's fine. But you get out of the business of like lots of handouts that you can just go find and then print out yourself. So Rules Interpreter webpage, again, the website is rules.lexorandi.com, and I'll probably put a little link below here after this meeting is finished, and I'll set that up so you can find it. All righty. Well, next topic is communications devices. So want to touch just a little bit about communications devices. So there's a couple, 2 or 3 different things on the market these days. Some crews have already experimented with them. I know Pauly has a set of the more pricier ones. I think they're $1,000 or a little bit more. They're professional. I mean, best way to say it. I mean, they're professional devices. If you just want to get a starter and see if it works for your crew, you can go with something like this. So this is called Baofeng, and the model number is BF888S as in Sam. BF888S as in Sam. You'll find these on Amazon.com, and you probably find them in a couple different other places too. I know it's backwards on there, but you just have to trust me. That's actually what it's called. Anyway, so for $60, you get 6 of these. 6 for $60. Now you're probably going to spend that just going out to dinner, after one game with your crew. So not too big of an investment. Inside you'll get 3 of these boxes when you order them. So inside is going to be 2 walkie-talkies, 2 chargers, 2 antenna, and 2 of these earpieces, headsets. So these headsets just kind of plug into the device, and I'm going to do a video just on these. This is just going to be kind of a poor man's guide to electronic devices. Earpiece fits on your ear. There's a button that clips onto your lapel, and the button's got a push. See that? Push to talk. So when you push, you have an open mic. This is what the thing kind of looks like. This thing screws off, so it kind of compacts down to something nice and small. It's got a clip on the back, and then each one has got a battery. So battery kind of something like this, clicks in, and you turn it on.
Power on 1.
That nice Chinese lady said power on 1. It's got 16 channels.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 14, 16.
Okay, so I just zipped through those. So as you change the channels, this lady tells you what channel you're on. So basically what you want to do is get your whole crew, decide on a channel, get the whole crew on one channel. So we're going to use channel 1, or we're going to use channel 2. Everyone sets their channels to channel 2 like this.
11, 1, 2.
You're on 2. Make sure everyone's on 2. You talk. Each channel is a different frequency. So the issue with these, this is important, is out of the box, these BF888Xs are made in, guess where? China, all right? Actually, That might be Korea. I don't know. I do spend a lot of time in the Middle East. I'm going to Japan in a few weeks, but I think that might be Korean. Anyway, so they come programmed with 16 frequencies. Unfortunately, those 16 frequencies that they come programmed with are in the U.S. emergency responder bands and police and fire. So the range on these is about 3/4 of a mile to a mile line of sight with no interference. The sweet spot's about a half to quarter mile, so perfect for the football field. But if you're at a school that's close to a fire hall or close to a police station, dollars to donuts, you're going to be tramping on their frequencies, and they're going to come find you because you can only be about a mile away. So if on some emergency frequency you get some knucklehead saying where's the ball? What's the spot of the ball? I got a guy that's down over here. Whatever that is, they're going to come find you and they're going to charge you big time for a fine. So you don't want to just use these out of the box. So the good news is they can be programmed, and there is a cable which I don't have right here that plugs into the side and then plugs into your laptop, and you can and there's a free software called Chirp. You could hook these up to Chirp and you can reprogram all 16 frequencies to legal frequencies. So if you're not a techie, I am a techie. So if you are not a techie, I'm going to offer one night or maybe a couple meetings during the summer. I'm going to bring in the laptop. I'm going to bring in the cord. And if anyone has these, you can bring them over to me and I'll program them all to the legal frequencies. Legal frequencies are in the FMS range. And basically they're the frequencies that your baby monitors work on at home, kid walkie-talkies, stuff like that. So that's the frequencies you want on these. One of the neat things is that, again, when you buy these, you get 6. And we don't use 6-man crews. That leaves 1 extra. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we might do with that 1 extra in just a few minutes, the rest of the agenda. So I am going to do a whole video just on these things. One of the things you're going to see on the Rules Interpreter website is a list of guidelines that I put together. And what I'd like is to get together with the referees and go through these guidelines and sort of get some consensus that they're good enough for us and they're good enough to follow, and then sort of install them as our chapter's guidelines for using electronic equipment. And it's just a lot of basic things that other associations who have these devices have used over the years. Over the last 2 years, is pretty much as long as they've been using them. But they're kind of common sense things that you want to do. For instance, don't use them while the ball is live, right? So while the ball is live, all your attention's got to be on the field. It's got to be on the players. It's got to be everywhere but worrying about where this button is and clicking it to say, hey, there's some monkey business going off on the side here. You need to deal with the game while the ball is live. After the ball is dead, then whatever you want to say, you can say. But it's a list of guidelines. I think you'll find them pretty self-explanatory and pretty adaptable. You don't want to be talking when the referee's given his signal to the press box, for instance. You don't want to be shouting in his ear or something, right? That kind of stuff. So unless he forgets the number, which he's not going to announce anyway. But anyway, again, a set of guidelines. They're up on the Rules Interpreter website right now, so you can take some time to take a look at them. rules.lexarandi.com. Take a look at those. And I think they're under articles, or they might be under discussions. One of the two, you'll find them. And just go through them. And then when we start getting together in earnest, beginning of the summer, then we'll take some time. The referees will go off. We'll take some time to go through these. Do they look like what we want? Are we missing anything? and then sort of adopt them as our own guidelines. Again, they're not going to be rules, they're not going to be policed, they're not going to be enforced. It's for those of us that are referees and crew chiefs to use to our advantage and to incorporate into our free games. And then a couple other things, like probably just want to have actives using these things. So, I mean, associates and candidates, they've got a lot going on the field. They've got a lot of things they need to look at. They've got a lot of things they need to use to learn. You probably don't want to burden them with these things. Leave this for the actives for the time being. It's like a guideline. So anyway, the boss is always going to be the crew chief, the referee. So, whatever he decides he wants to do, he can do. And as long as he's got an agreement from the crew, should never force anyone to wear one of these that doesn't want to. But it's going to be the referee's call on whether the crew uses it or the crew doesn't use it. So that's electronic devices. Next thing wanted to talk about, I guess, is rule changes. So going to be a challenging year for us. A couple big rule changes that are going to change some of the mechanics that we are used to in almost every play. So I'll go to the easy ones first. So first rule change this year is no tripping the runner. So in the past, you can't trip anyone but the runner. Now you can't trip the runner either. So using your foot or other body part to trip a runner is going to be illegal this year. They've also expanded the criteria for horse collar. So in the past, horse collar is grabbing a player by some part of their collar and pulling them straight backwards and all the way to the ground. That's horse collar. This year, it's also a horse collar if you grab the player in the nameplate area. So this is the area below the collar where typically the player's name is. If you grasp that area of the jersey and do the same thing, pull him all the way back so that he comes off his feet and lands on his back, that's a horse collar. We're probably going to talk a little bit about horse collars because in some of the film, we've seen some horse collar calls that are kind of sideways and things like that. Those aren't horse collars. It's got to be backwards. And the difference this year is last year, if you grabbed any part of their uniform and did it, it wasn't a penalty. This year, if you grab the nameplate, which is close enough to the collar, so you're going to get the same kind of pivot action, the same kind of moment arm for those of you who know physics, same kind of moment arm as you would get from the collar, you're going to get from the nameplate area. You pull the player straight backwards. That's horse collar this year. The next rule change is formation. So how we define a legal formation. So the Federation has determined that it's easier to count players in the backfield than along the straight line of scrimmage. So for instance, assuming that the R and the U have counted 11, all right, we've got 11 players, the extended explanation now for an illegal formation becomes too many players in the backfield as opposed to not enough men on the line of scrimmage. So the new rule is you can't have 4 men in the backfield. That's what constitutes a legal formation. What the rule doesn't talk about are the 5 guys, 50 through 79, that need to be on the line of scrimmage. They haven't said that they've changed that rule, so I'm thinking that still stands for this year. So for instance, you could have 9 guys on the field, 5 legal numbers on the line of scrimmage, 4 guys in the back, and you've got a legal formation. Last year, that would have been illegal because you had to have 7 on the line. This year, there's nothing that says you have to have 7 on the line. The rule says you have to have 4 in the backfield. So I think that the point of this rule change was, again, it's easier for side guys to count how many guys are in the backfield than to count how many guys are in a straight line. Now, you're still going to have the guys that are in no man's land. You still got to deal with that. You still have to figure that out. You guys on the ends are going to have to you're going to have to either make them legal or do whatever you do to officiate the game. But the bottom line is you're counting the guys in the backfield now, not the guys on the line of scrimmage. So the signal 10 doesn't mean very much this year. I mean, it means you've got less than 11, which is good. And you still have to count, because if you have 12, that's still a problem like it always has been. But now if you have 10, it means nothing. If you have 9, it means nothing. You could still be a legal formation. So we'll talk about it a little bit more. We'll see if we get any guidance from New York State or from the Federation on this. We may not need that signal anymore. We may just need I got 9 guys, or I'm sorry, got 11 guys. And if you don't have 11, then as long as you don't have 12, there's not necessarily a problem. So we really have to see again what the guidance is on this. We can speculate on what it means or what the underlying code is for this particular rule. We just don't know. So we're just speculating to talk about anything else. But that is the rule. So we actually have the rule change. And that is that a league of formation is not more than 4 men in the backfield. And the other rule change, there's a rule change with jersey colors again, like there is every year, something that's going to start in 15 years. They're telling us now. I'm not going to cover that right now. But the other biggie is the 40-second play clock. And this is going to be, my estimation, a significant challenge for us. Everyone has their horror stories about clock operators in Section 3. I mean, some are terrible, some are okay. There's none that are just really spot on great all the time, at least in my estimation. Now, maybe you guys have found those guys. I don't know. There was one game this past year where, like, 3 plays into the first period, we took it down on the field. It was all over the place, both the 25-second clock and the game clock. They were going wild. They're like watching some football game on TV and timing that. So afterwards, we went up, talked to the clock operators. They had everything. Actually, they came down to the field. Yeah, we got it. We got it. Yeah, no, we saw. Yeah, that signal. Yeah, we got it. No problem. Yep, we got it. Second half starts. 2 plays in, boom, brought it back down. Same deal. I mean, both the 25-second clock and the play clock. I don't know, or the play clock and the game clock. They both were like on some different planet. So everyone's got those stories. This is going to be even more of a challenge, because now you not only have a 25-second clock, but you've got a 40-second clock. And the upper divisions have used this already. High schools that use NC2A rules, like Texas, already have this. It's not that it's a particularly difficult concept. It's just that it's a change for us and a change for our mechanics. So there are a set of differences between the two. We're not absolutely sure that all the same circumstances that call for a 25-second clock as opposed to a 40-second clock are exactly the same as in NC2A. We just don't know, because they haven't told us. They've just, in sort of explanation, given us some indications of the times when these 2 clocks will be different. And they sound like they pretty much align with college, but it's hard to say if it is the same for every single one. The game clock in college is different. When the game clock stops, and they're not incorporating any of the college game clock rules this year, just the play clock. So what they've told us is that the referees ready for play, again, the 25-second clock will only start when the referee gives a ready for play, chalks it in. All right, that's the only time we'll use a 25-second clock. All the other times, we'll be using a 40-second clock. So if the ball becomes dead during a series of downs, due to anything other than an official timeout to do some sort of game administration, then the clock starts with 40 seconds when the ball becomes dead. So second down, you got a long pass down the sidelines. It's complete. As soon as the ball becomes dead, the runner steps out of bounds or the runner's down, the covering official puts his hand up. That's a signal for the clock operator to start the 40-second clock. The ball will be snapped no later than 40 seconds after that moment. So when that 40-second clock starts, the players have to get back on sides, do their huddle if they're still going to do a huddle, line up, and snap the ball in 40 seconds. So again, if the ball becomes dead, just because of the ball becoming dead rules, as opposed to something needing to be officiated, where an official is stopping the clock to do some sort of game management, the clock is going to start with a 40-second clock. All other times, it's going to start with a 25-second clock. So again, if you go to the web interpreter's website, you'll find in the section on articles, you'll find 2 or 3 articles on this. They're called 25 40-second clock differences. So just in general, 25-second play clock starts prior to a try, following a score, start of a period or overtime series, following the administration of an inadvertent whistle, following an official's timeout for measurement, following the stoppage of a play clock for another official reason, or kickoffs, following an injury timeout, following the administration of a penalty, runner's helmet comes off. These are all instances of where we're going to start with a 25-second clock. Team timeout, touchback after a score, or for a measurement. So if the clock stops for any one of those things, the official's stopping it, so it's either an official's timeout, right, to do a measurement, move the chains, whatever. I shouldn't say move the chains because I'm not sure if that's included. I think it is, but I'm not sure. It probably is, though. Official's timeout, the clock will start next with a chalk and 25. If it's 40-second clock, and then it says for a 40-second clock, 40-second play clock will always be used unless the clock was stopped for an administrative action. All right. And probably the only gray area there is change of downs, or I'm sorry, change of possession. What that means then is that there's no ready for play by the referee, right? 40-second clock starts. The ready for play is when the covering official, not the covering official, when the spotting official, which 90% of the time is going to be the umpire, places the ball on the ground and steps away. That is the ready for play. Nothing done by the referee. Referee can go have a smoke. Doesn't have to chalk it in every time now. What that also means is that you're going to find teams that are going to try and take advantage of that, right? You're going to find offenses that, are facing a particularly slow defense, or, a defense that plays a little under their level, and dollars to donuts. They're going to get themselves back on sides, and they're going to snap the ball while the defense is just trying to figure out where the heck the ball is, or, or trying to substitute. There's no protection for that anymore. So it's going to be a challenge for us for a couple different reasons. Number one, because we have to manage all that stuff, and we're going to have to manage the first year of a lot of belly aching, I'm thinking, from sidelines, and we'll try and cover this with the coaches. But if they're running a hurry-up offense or a no huddle offense, you're going to bet that they're going to want to get right back on sides, and then once that ball's down, they're going to snap it. The defense has to be coached by their coaches. Once that ball's down, it's ready for play. So, and then everything that is associated with the ready for play, especially like what goes on the sidelines, what the coaches are allowed to do, where they're allowed to be. Now, where it used to be the chalk as the ready for play, now it's the ball being put down. And again, once the snapper has his hand on the ball, that's going to mean the same thing that it's always meant for all of us. So that's the 40-second clock. Our challenge is going to be, I think that in high schools right now, they don't have a 40-second clock, right? If you've seen a high school scoreboard, they've got a device for the game clock and a device for the play clock. And the play clock device is just an on and off switch and a reset, right? And when you reset it, it resets it only to 25 seconds. So before any high school, at least that I know of, in section 3 can use a 40-second or 25-second clock, they'll need to have that upgrade to their equipment. Now, I don't know the equipment well enough to know that that just may mean that they could just get a controller that's got 2 switches and then the programming's already set up inside of it so they can implement that. So it might not be that big of a deal for some, but for some it might mean a significant upgrade to their capability to have a play clock on the field. In those cases, if they only have 25, it shuts off and we take it all down on the field. So I'm thinking that there's probably got to be a signal that we incorporate for the back judge who's going to be keeping this to notify the referee that we're at 25 seconds. Because part of the high school rule, this new rule, is that if for no fault of the players, the ball isn't placed by 25 seconds. So if the ball, for whatever reason, doesn't make it back and is put into place by 25 seconds. So say the clock is down to 20 seconds after a long pass, and we had to get a new ball in, or the ball didn't come from the sides the way it should, or whatever, and we just didn't get the ball down, then the referee has to give the offense 25 seconds. So if we don't have 40 seconds on the field where we can see it, probably we're going to have to come up with a signal for the back judge to signal the referee that, hey, we're at 25. The ball's not down there. Then we need to reset and do a 25-second clock. So just some things to think about. I mean, the ball mechanics now and the rotation is going to become more crucial than it ever was. And remember, this rule is not just a varsity rule. This is a rule for JV, a rule for freshmen, a rule for modified. They have to have a 40-second clock. Now, you guys that do the modified games, the JV and the freshmen, you're going to have to use some common sense, right? So if you're on a modified game and you got 2 or 3 candidates and it's you, they're not going to be taking the 40-second clock. You're going to be taking the whole enchilada, and you're going to just do your best to make the game as fair as you can. But it's really going to be up to you. So, I mean, you're going to use your common sense just like we all do, depending on the situation. But I mean, I never in a modified game and in a freshman game, I mean, I don't even really pay that much attention to the 25-second clock. I mean, if it's taking too long, you just feel that it's taking too long, right? So I'll just, as a referee, I'll just say, let's go, and just keep it moving. But I don't bang freshmen for a 25-second clock infraction. We're doing the same thing with the 40-second clock. I mean, you could do that. You can call them out to delay a game. You're going to stop the game clock, and then you're going to go with a 25-second clock, and you'll be there all day. So again, common sense. But that's going to be a challenge for us. I just kind of dread it. But we're going to do our best over the summer to see what they publish on it and to see what that does for us. So back to these communication devices. So if you got 5 actives, you would have 5 of these. My thought is that, and one of the things I'm going to try and do is perhaps put one of these up in the booth. And here's the way we would do it. So again, we can program these, right, to any frequencies we want. There's 16 channels, so you can program them to any channel you want. You can also take one of these and program all 16 channels to the same channel. all right, with this programming software. And you know, I've labeled all of mine with a number, so you see that's number 1. So I always know who to charge if it's one's missing or doesn't come back. But my thought is that we take one of these, and so say we make channel 16. So channel 16 on these is some particular frequency, right? And is unique from 1 through 15. So you take one of these and you program all 16 frequencies to the same frequency. This is the frequency that is up on the booth. To all of us down on the field, it's frequency number 16. We talk on frequency number 1, but the guy up in the booth, no matter what he sets this to,
1, 3, 4,
whatever channel he sets this to, the frequency that we've programmed is always 16, no matter whether it's 1 through 16. So we know on the field that if we're all going to talk on 1 or we're all going to talk on 2, if we need to talk to the clock operator, we just turn ours to 16 and we talk like normal. Hey, reset to 40, or reset the game clock to 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Then it's only going to go up there, and he's not going to be able to go down there and tune to our channels and listen to us. Every channel on this one specific one that we've marked is all the same frequency. So I'm just thinking that's probably something I'm going to try and do this year. I'm going to try this again, since we've got 6 of these. It makes sense. Got to remember to go get it after the game. I'll probably give that to my space cadet back judge. He'll go do it, and he's really good at that kind of stuff. So that's everything that we covered last Monday. If you missed this because it's later than I said it was going to be, sorry about that. You're going to be able to catch it on YouTube. I will send the link out, and you can just view this. And again, I'll be doing another one of these just on communication devices. And if I feel like it, I might do something else, like how to make Italian spaghetti sauce, but I mean really Sicilian and not like this other stuff that you might find somewhere. Anyway, hey, thanks for joining, and look forward to seeing you guys. If you need me, call me. Y'all guys, I'm in the directory. Y'all have my number. You can reach me at about 20 different email addresses. The newest one is rules@forelli.net, Vinny@forelli.net, Vince@forelli.net. They all work. They all get to me. So if you need to get a hold of me, call me, send me a letter, send me an email. My thing is in the directory from last year. So we'll see you soon. Thanks for joining, and ciao.